You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good game. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, and streaming live on Ustream, this is AFTERBUZZ TV for Modern Family. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest Modern Family news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, it's AFTERBUZZ TV for Modern Family.
AFTERBUZZ TV, woo! Modern Family podcast. Thank you. No. Sit down. Seriously, thank you, folks. Wow, it is so great to be hosting the AFTERBUZZ podcast for Modern Family, and I have a wonderful co-pilot this afternoon. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Natasha Frakes.
All right. Hi, Natasha. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So I guess you made the cut.
Yes, I did.
You know, I remember my first time on the couch, and while it wasn't as cold as yours was because you were freezing, it was definitely a chance for me to kind of see what it was all about and realize that we reach literally dozens of people through this. Well, yes, it takes a while to build an audience, so we'll say dozens for now. But no, we know there's hundreds, possibly thousands of people that listen to us. So thanks for joining me. Modern Family this week was a doozy. It's as always, you know, the show has hit its stride, and they really are, just doing some really wonderful things with the plot lines and interweaving and then having it all kind of come together. Even though there were, I suppose, 3 sort of plot lines, the C plot line was kind of minor. There's basically 2 major plot lines, of course. The title for this week's episode, which I believe is sister mom, right? Auntie mom.
Something like that.
We're gonna figure this out.
It is auntie mom.
Auntie mom.
Okay. Or aunt mommy. Sorry, not auntie mom. It's aunt mommy. If we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Well, we're not anti-mom here. We're not anti anybody.
Yeah.
But we are aunt mommy. Right, Aunt Mommy, which was one of the lines, actually.
Yeah, referring to Claire, I believe.
To Claire, to be an aunt and a mommy. So we had the Cameron and Mitchell swirl, of course, and then Manny, who, became a man of sorts and kind of, but got injured. But more on that in a moment. Overall, what did you think of the episode? What were your impressions?
Well, you know what you just made me think of right now by saying Manny being the man is how ironic it is that his name is Manny, and he is probably the least manly man out there.
Right. Well, he's the least traditional man. I think it's funny because the show obviously, and two of the family members, of course, are gay. So they go to great lengths to not necessarily make him effete or effeminate. It's not. They're not stereotyping him. He's a sensitive boy, and they give him the explanation, of course, that he's very close to Gloria. So it's not a situation where we're making fun of him. We're just understanding that he's kind of a different type of boy, a different type of man, as it were. And every time Jay tries to make him, a more traditional, kind of thing, it kind of backfires, as it did in this episode.
I'm just curious if they did that on purpose, knowing that the kind of character he was going to be, if they therefore named him Manny.
Yeah, well, it's a fairly common Hispanic name. It's short for Manuel. And there was a joke about it. There was another joke within it, which I can't recall, and it'll come to me. But there was a joke about becoming kind of a man, and then I think Jay caught himself because he realized he was about to say Manny's name, and didn't want to go there. And then there was another joke that they threw on top of it, and I wish my notes had survived the drive over here, which the computer's getting crazy. But it was a funny, and that was obviously the second half of that joke because there were the pennies. What did you think of the Gloria and Manny's penny odyssey?
I thought that was great. That was so cute how they were collecting. They were trying to get 100 pennies, so I think they could buy a lottery ticket. And it had taken them 8 years, and they finally did it.
Right.
And I just loved it because, you know, Jay was so against it the whole time. And he was like, what are you doing? Why are you spending all this time with Manny? He needs to spend some time playing football and doing boy things and getting away from spending time with his mom.
Right.
And then, you know, at the end of it, when they finally collect all those 100 pennies, and which is how Manny actually ends up getting injured, is because he finds the 100th penny right when he's playing in the middle of a football game.
Right, that was
and he
what
gets
tackled and gets injured. Yeah, yeah.
And then Jay ends up taking away about 4 pennies.
Right.
So that they can continue on
so
the
they can
little...
continue on their little journey
I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was a nice little
It's like a nice
touch.
little connection that they have going on there. They're collecting pennies.
Yeah. It's you know, and I don't have children, and I don't, but I have friends that do, and of course that's kind of a one-way street. You know, once, and you know from your own life that once you grow up and you go out into the world, you know, there's no going back. I mean, you might come home to visit, you might move back in with your family, which a lot of people are doing because of the recession. But it's a different thing. It's a different dynamic. Once you've kind of put away your childish things, that's not something that you go back to unless you're like, you know, Pee Wee Herman or something. But it's a thing where Gloria wants to hang on to Manny as long as possible. Jay sees something as there could be something wrong with that, and then at the end, he has the little turnaround where he says, "Okay, you know, continue on your journey because why not? Why not enjoy, you know, Manny for a year more, or however long? You know, you get a situation like Luke, who's kind of Manny's often partner in crime or instigator in crime, as it were. Then you know, then they get into trouble, and they will, you know, Luke has already kind of separated himself from his parents in a way that's very different. So
I mean, look at Haley. Haley's like already far gone.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. She's
so they're trying to prevent that by kind of keeping some little connection, and having this little game is a way of doing that.
Yeah, and they've made an allusion to it that she's going to be going off to college, and I read online that in an upcoming episode, they're going to discover that Haley has had sex.
Really?
She is not a virgin anymore.
Oh, so my goodness.
Which I think we could kind of figure out if we really thought about it.
I think so, but that's a pretty big thing to bring to the table for Modern Family.
Right. Yeah, because they generally, you're right, they do kind of shy away from big kind of social issues, or even like serious moments. You know, obviously there's some hurt feelings and stuff, and there's serious undercurrents to the show. But you're right, that's a very direct thing. So we'll deal with that when it comes, in hopes that and hope that Haley is being safe, of course.
Do you think that's with her past boyfriend, that tall, gangly one? What's his name?
Oh, yeah. From the season premiere, the one that was in like 2 episodes and then he's gone, and he's in these like Wendy's commercials or whatever that we see.
The one who's a musician, right?
Yes.
He wrote the song about Haley. Do you remember that?
That's right. Yeah. No, he. I wonder, or it could be, you know, someone that we haven't seen yet. It might be, you know, Haley's unknown
love affair,
secret love affair.
That would be great.
So the show, at the top of the show, we start off with Phil trying to sell the house to Cam and Mitchell's friends, or maybe it's just Mitchell's friend, Steven and Stefan. Which right away, based on the names, we can tell that they're kind of, you know, they're kind of interchangeable, and they're not really going to be, you know, they're not going to be a major part, but they're kind of, they get the ball rolling for the show.
Oh, but they were such great characters.
They were great. Yeah.
I loved them. You know, when they come in, they're seeing the house, and they're going, you know, I love it, but I'm not in love with it. That's what he says. And I just thought that was great. But then my favorite part was when Phil then plays this sneaky game, and it just so happens that Luke has a friend over named Leon.
Oh, that's right.
The kid with the lice.
Yes.
So he's able to do this sneaky little conversation where he's talking on the phone with Claire, but he makes them think that he's talking on the phone.
Well, do you think, did he do it on purpose?
Yes.
You think he did it on purpose?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, because he had already shown it 5 times.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think he did that, because I always just assumed that Phil is often
I think
La La Land.
He did it on purpose for sure. And he had a moment where he looked to the camera when the guys were talking, Steven and Stefan were like, I don't know. And he looks at the camera and he's like, just
really upset.
Really bothered by it. So then he has this phone conversation, and he's like, how can I weasel my way into making them think that?
Oh, okay.
And it just so happens it's Luke and Leon. And so the guys, as soon as they hear that, they look at each other and they're like, we are not losing this house to Luke and Leon.
Yeah. Yes, which is a great move on Phil's part. Phil's becoming slowly, you know, the kind of the businessman. I guess maybe on his business side, he is, you know, shrewd and won't say cunning, but he definitely has a head for business, right? I mean, he was asked to become a partner and join this other firm. He kind of has the control and mastery that he doesn't have, obviously, in his home life. And what I really loved about the first part, where they set up what seemed to be almost like an old-time sitcom setup, right? Because it was like, Leon came over with the lice, and they spilled all the marbles, and they set it up as this kind of screwball, wacky, the wheels are going to come off, and Claire wants Phil to handle it, but of course Phil's already gone by this point, out of the house.
Yeah.
And they took what could have been on, and this is the beauty of the show, on a common or on your typical sitcom, that situation would be the crux of the entire episode, the day that, everything went to hell in the house. And instead, they did it right before the first commercial break. It was the very first part of the show. They set it up as, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster, right? That's what Claire was afraid of. Like, I'm going to come back to a house burned to the ground, especially when she realized that Phil wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it was fine. And she comes home and everything is fine. And then that leads to the rest of the show, where she's very proud of her kids. She's very happy with who they are and what they've become and how they're half her and half Phil's. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing, because it was a nice little twist. The show kind of leads you in one direction and says, oh, we're not going to talk about this, but this is pretty funny. We're going to now use that as a jumping off point to this other part of the show.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how they did that, because I remember when the episode first started, I wasn't paying attention for like the first second, and then all of a sudden there was all this stuff going on, and I'm
crazy
like,
stuff.
Wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
Did I miss something? Like,
Yeah.
it seemed like they were already in the middle of some big conflict.
Right.
But then it was actually turned out really nice, and it came out when Claire had had a few drinks, and then she goes, I just want to say I'm so proud of my kids.
Yes.
And it was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
You don't really hear that a lot from either
her.
of them, yeah.
Yeah, and especially from her, who is this
Yeah.
kind of alpha, and she thinks she's the one that's kind of controls them, and she definitely thinks 2/3 of them are kind of not the smartest, brightest bulbs in the box.
She's definitely a type A personality.
Yes, for sure. So, but yeah, you're right. It was nice for her to kind of confess that, and of course, it came out when she was drinking. But that's the beauty of the show. If anybody's out there that is thinking of writing a sitcom or a comedy or a sketch, that's a nice little trick for the audience. To trick the audience out like that. It's not cheating the audience, because what you're doing is you're setting up what seems like something really obvious, and then you're taking it in another direction. So kind of like laying down the foundation for this situation and say, oh, by the way, the joke is not here. The joke is how the characters will react to that. And I, for one, having seen a lot of television, obviously, having seen a lot of sitcoms, having seen a lot of Modern Family, it was nice to be led in that different direction, to be misdirected, as it were, because it keeps you, it kind of, it pokes you. How many times have you been to a movie or a show where you know what's going to happen? And or worse, you see everything in the trailers, in the previews, months and months before, and you're like, oh, there's the whole movie. Now I don't need to see it. In the off chance that you go in to see it in the theaters, you sit down, and it's exactly like it was in the commercials and the trailers. You knew the good guy was going to win, was going to kill the bad guy, he was going to blow him away, he was going to say some, cool thing before he shoots him, and whatever. Audiences are sophisticated. We've seen enough things. We know what's going to happen. We know the traditional structure of things.
And it's so easy to fall into that really predictable kind of storyline,
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Modern Family, is that you're just constantly surprised. And that's why you end up laughing, is because it's like almost a little bit shocking, some of the things that happen. And they just really keep you on your toes with stuff like that.
With the different combinations that they use. There's basically six of the Modern Family parents. And so with each show, it's like we use different combinations, and we already know what the characters are. So let's see how we can, and occasionally we'll bring in outside characters like Stephen and Stefan or Greg Kinnear, right, or Leon. And they just they come in to kind of, almost like, I don't know, like bumper cars or billiard balls. They just come in to kind of nudge the characters back in the direction of the story, and then the story continues on with those characters. And it's just so nice to be surprised. Yeah. It's so nice to not see the typical thing, which is unfortunately what I can't stand about a lot of sitcoms. Even some of the other shows that I won't name by name, but some of the other shows that are big hits.
Yeah.
That I can't watch because they're predictable, and I know what's going to happen, and I know that this character is this, and he's going to say this, and okay, let's just give. And unfortunately, that's what sitcoms are, right? The sit in sitcoms means situational. So we have a fixed character, and we're going to put them in a different situation. So Claire is a type A personality. We're going to constantly put her in situations where she loses control so that we can see her go crazy. So, we put her, it's the best, right? We want to see her in the election, getting her butt handed to her on television. We want to see her house coming apart. We want to see, the crossing guard arresting her or whatever, ticketing her like she did a few episodes ago.
It's possibly the funniest thing to see that, honestly. I have some friends that are like that, where they're type A personalities.
And
when
you'd love to set them off?
Yeah, when they're just a little bit thrown off. It doesn't even have to be in major situations.
Right.
To see the way that
What's
they
an
react.
example? Can you give me an example of like something recent maybe where your friend was like...
Well, one of my best, closest friends, she has a little bit of OCD.
And you know who you are.
She knows.
She's a little
she
OCD?
Knows. Yeah,
Okay.
major OCD.
Okay. Yeah, so let's make fun of her.
And yeah, so anytime I'd even go to her house,
Yeah.
I put my stuff down on her bed and turn around, and literally for a second I turn back and my stuff is not there, and it's all, my shoes are perfectly lined up where all the shoes are, my coat's hung up, my purse is like in the cupboard somewhere, like it's all put away.
Right.
She can't be thrown off whatsoever. She can't have stuff where it's not supposed to be. It's like everything has to be in line. If she's sitting here right now, she'd have everything. She'd be going like this, making sure everything's constantly
arranging
in line.
everything and making that it's making sure it's aligned and
yeah. So if there's something kind of big that throws her off, oh my gosh.
So now if you were so let's say you were writing a sitcom about her, so like what would be some situations that you'd want to put her in where you would want her to be, to go off the rails? What would be like, without being too cruel, of course.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like we don't want to like.
I'd really want her to go off the rails
Well,
that much.
I mean, but like, let's say she's not your friend. Let's just say she's a character. Let's say you were watching it on TV, and let's say it's not, short of an actual compulsion or short of an actual, disease. We're not making fun of that. But we're making fun of the people that just, they're kind of neat freaks. Maybe they're just kind of.
Mario, I do want to comment on Type A that's actually on an ABC show. I love the show. We recap happy endings here at AfterBuzz, and I'm obsessed with the show. I'm trying to get Natasha to watch it because it's 9:30 and it's right after Modern Family.
Yes.
Well, they have a character by the name of Jane, and Jane is exactly like a Claire, or you would think even Monica from Friends.
Yeah.
And one of the situations that she had, like you said, situational comedy, was it was Valentine's Day, and her husband wanted to surprise her, but he knew she is so crazy, so he made a tutorial of what he was going to do, because there was no way a surprise would have worked on her. She went into the organizing store and would tell the organizing people how to organize the organizing store. So it's funny when I watch Modern Family, even though they're such different characters, Claire reminds me of Jane, so I think that's kind of a good little tie-in for ABC right there.
Absolutely, it's always a fun character to watch. To see these, and not that this is an example of it, because honey, I love you. But my fiance, for example, she works in disaster preparedness, and she works in emergency and disaster planning. So, I mean, I'm kind of more of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy. I like spontaneity. I like to improvise. She's a little more organized. We have our little fireproof safe or little box or whatever you want to call it, that's by the door, that has like all our important documents in case there's a fire. Snatch that and we're out the door. I mean, like we have food in case of an emergency. We have an emergency action plan.
She's very prepared.
She is. I mean, that's what she does. She prepares. She does emergency planning for nonprofits and organizations throughout the LA County area. So it's just interesting to see, because actually the beautiful thing, and this is obviously why she's paired up on the show with Phil, is that these type of people are best, the funniest situations that we can put them in are with someone who's a total disaster, which I guess in this equation makes me the one that's a disaster. But anyway, yeah.
Did you just realize this?
I just realized that's why she picks me. She laughs at me. No.
AfterBuzz TV exclusive.
Aha, yes, I am a mess, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. There you have it. There's the exclusive. No, and so the two characters can just constantly play off of each other, and that's what happens, right? Phil is a weirdo who, who sets up, he walks across a wire on his front yard, and he's got, in that way, he's a lot like Luke. When he and Luke get together, I love to see the two of them because it's the the two Stooges kind of thing.
I was telling Natasha, I absolutely think Phil is my favorite of the cast,
He is.
and there's so many good ones. Sofia Vergara's character as well, but he's just so funny. I have an uncle. My aunt is she's not type A, but she's very calm and relaxed. Yeah. But my uncle Jeff is just like Phil, like 100% goofy, and it's so that was the most relatable when I watched that series.
And so, of course, once again, situational comedy. What we want to see is we want to see Phil in situations where, in his case, he's really kind of challenged, where he needs to be in a place where he has to be suave, which he is clearly not, or he has to be, in control, or, like when he has to when he's trying to close the deal with Greg Kinnear, who in a weird sort of way is trying to close the deal with his wife.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing where we need him to be cool, and he's not cool.
I just love the looks he gives.
Yes.
And his timing is just perfect. And some of the lines they even give him to say, like, I think my favorite line from this past episode was when he finally remembered what had happened after their drunk night of planning to have a baby together.
Yes.
And he just looks at the camera and he goes, "Sweet potato fries." And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that is perfect.
Yeah, it really is.
And I really like him as an actor. And when he got his awards last year, his speeches were all very classy. He had really nice things to say, and he was funny.
Yeah.
And above that, it's nice when you see actors that have been around for a little while and haven't really got the right project. As you know, the guy that plays Mitchell, which is Jesse Tyler Ferguson.
Yeah.
He was on a great show that didn't make it, called The Class, and you wanted that show to make it. He didn't get that character, but he got Modern Family.
Right.
Well, Phil, what's his original? What's his real name?
His real name is
we'll figure it out. Ty Burrell. There
Burrell.
it is. He was on a show with Stalker Channing, with Henry Winkler, and it was a really funny show where they were all lawyers. I think it was called something about family, and it was a family of lawyers. They were all adult kids, and that show was really good, and it got canceled. So for me, it's exciting to see him get this hit project and then be as funny as you knew he was.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe didn't make on that first episode or first series.
Well, that's what's, a lot of that is happening right now here in LA. It's pilot season, so there are people out there that they've just now, they're doing the first round of casting of like the name actors, and the rest are going to be, people who's going to be, they're going to be given a shot, or it's going to be their first time, or it's going to be, their 13th time. I think Matthew Perry famously went out for 13 pilot seasons before he was on Friends, and the stories just abound that, it takes a while. So you're right. It is nice when talented people get rewarded, and, the material on Modern Family is just so wonderful that of course it's going to be great that they get that. And again, I think Cam and Mitchell are so good week in and week out that we sometimes kind of gloss over them.
Yeah.
But they did really well, and I like the interplay between the two couples with figuring out the swirl.
Yeah.
And they were totally into it. The swirl, right? Because it's going to be, the mixture of Cam and Mitchell to make a baby, to decide to have, to have a surrogate baby instead of adopting. But it's nice to see the two of them, and then to get drunk, and then to have a flashback episode as they flash back to the night before. They're all kind of hungover, except
and
for
when they
Cam.
were finishing each other's sentences.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yes,
that was great.
yeah. And it's just it's such a nice interplay between the two couples, and they are so good week in and week out that we sometimes forget that we kind of expect them, and then Lily will come in and drop a bomb and then walk out of the scene, But they have such a cool, funny dynamic.
I mean, Cam kind of always sticks out to me just because Cam is so hilarious. I may glaze over Mitchell a little bit because he doesn't have as humorous of a character, but I just loved seeing Cam and Mitchell and Phil and Claire get drunk together.
Right.
That was great.
And have that just be the thing. You knew that was going to be a lot of fun. And it was probably a lot of fun to write and act out. I recently saw on IFC, they have the show called The Mortified Sessions. Have you heard of this? This is where they interview, and I talked to someone who said this was apparently a play. They were doing this with people in LA first, and then it got picked up to be a show, and now they're doing it with famous people. But it is where famous people bring in their photos, scrapbooks, whatever, press clippings from when they were younger, basically, being mortified when they were kids and talking about who they were. And so the one that I happened to catch was Eric Stonestreet, who plays Cam.
Love
and
Eric Stonestreet.
He is awesome. He's a really nice guy. He's from, I want to say Kentucky, but he's from somewhere down
he's
south.
from somewhere like that.
Somewhere down south, and he's been a clown ever since he was like 12. So there's pictures of him as and he was a heavy. I mean, he's a heavy guy now, but he was really, really heavy then. And it's just so nice to see. He's really cute, and he really just he's the one who is not gay in real life. Jesse Tyler Ferguson is, and it's funny that he plays the more queenie, as it were, of the two of them. And it's just so nice to see. Talk about another nice guy who made it. Who made it?
Yeah, he was on Almost Famous too. He had a small
That's
bit,
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Real quick, you guys, we had one minor technical glitch. So just as you were recapping about Mitchell and Cam, just kind of re-grab that for me if you don't mind. But we missed just a little portion of that. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're just saying that the show is those two characters, their dynamic, their interplay is so good that we sometimes forget how wonderful they are, and they are some of I think I would actually dare say, because the awards kind of go to Claire and Phil, but there's America, I feel like, kind of has a soft spot for Cam and Mitchell, and that's Eric Stone Street and Jesse Tyler Ferguson.
Yeah.
And to see them, like you said, just get drunk and just love on each other, and they're so in love, and they just like, to them to be able to move forward. And for a moment it was a nice little plot point that they would put they would that they would join swords to make to make this new baby that would be the two of them, because that would be such a fun little baby that would be such a fun family.
And that showed a really loving moment between the two of them too, how badly they wanted to just be able to have a baby together, and that's why they never
and
wanted
not
to
exclude
have a
the
surrogate.
other one.
Yeah,
so everyone is involved.
Exactly, that's why, and that kind of separates them from that other gay couple, Stephen and Stefan,
right,
who were just like, oh, why don't you just go have a surrogate? And they're like, no, because we don't know who would ice the cupcake, as they said. So it was we got to see a little bit more about the relationship, and also how Phil and Claire felt about the relationship, because we got to see Phil kind of break down and cry when he was drunk.
I remember somebody crying, and then I got to him, and it's him that burst into tears.
Crying,
yeah,
he wanted to see them have a baby together so badly, and that's kind of how it all came up. And Claire then says, "That's it. I will give you my egg."
Yeah,
and that kind of was where it all ended up.
Yeah, and it's a really sweet moment. Of course, in the harsh light of day. You rethink it, and it would be awkward, and it would be, I don't know, of course they left it up to Jay to kind of respond as the old man and, be disgusted, and it's against the natural order. But it's so nice, given such the week that the U.S. has had, just, in politics with this, not to get political, but with Obama's contraception health coverage for Catholic institutions, and Rick Santorum getting in the news as he surges in the polls, and it's so nice to just. And it's weird because normally people say, oh, Hollywood is out of touch with America. But here we have an instance where it's it's kind of right on. It's kind of where we are. There's so many things that are messed up right now.
And gay marriage, I think, is now going to be legal in Washington,
passed in
right?
Washington State. Yes, exactly. So it's just you see kind of the more reality of it, that now we're getting to the point where we're coming into these, kind of tinier decisions, and how's it going to work? How is it going to work when two men are trying to have a baby, and what does that entail? And and these are very real things. So kudos to Modern Family for living up to its title and being a very modern family, because this is how people are living, and this is how people are accepting it. And I've often said this, that as corny as it sounds to kind of point to pop culture and say, well, they're influencing, TV and Hollywood is influencing America, shows like A Will and Grace or even The Real World back in the day with the first few episodes, the first few seasons, it's for many people in America, and certainly gay youth, to be able to see themselves reflected in pop culture, in mass media. That's really important, because you have, people at the pulpits and people in government that might be saying, you're wrong and you're immoral and you're an animal and all this crazy stuff. And these kids, young people internalize that. And so to see something that it's what, it gets better as the campaign is going, but it's nice, it's normal. It's you're a family, you're a person, you love someone. That's it. That's where. And
I was just talking to a couple friends last night who happen to be gay, and they were talking about how hard it is and how nice it is when you finally found it to belong to a community, and to find that, and how for them, it's not like you can just walk down the street and it's like a gay bar there and you have a bunch of people around you and you all understand each other and you understand how it is to be in a world where, it's a little bit difficult to be gay. And so for them to have that on television now, it's just another more another way for them to feel like they belong.
Yeah, normalizing.
And it definitely is the best way to get any message out, sort of in a comedic way. You know, they have you get your message out, but it's not the basic, drilling it down someone's throat or whatever.
Nice metaphor.
And as
great metaphor.
That was not intended, but my point is, and I hate to always say Modern Family's stepchild of a show after My Happy Endings, which I love.
Right.
They have a couple things like that. I know, I always promote it. But it is an ABC show right after. Anyways, but let me tell you, they do actually two really cool things in that respect of just giving the knowledge of maybe how you said your friends don't feel accepted or whatever. They got two things that they conquer on that show. They have one, a gay character who isn't a gay stereotype. Sloppy, sports, burping type of guy. That's his character. And then they have a black and a white couple, and they don't ever address it really as like interracial couple.
It's not a thing.
So like sitcoms do really good at and I don't think anyone talks about it except for here at AfterBuzz. So that's nice.
Yeah, no, it's again, it's normalizing something that we know to be true. That when I hear. And again, I really do apologize for the politicizing, but only because it is in the news. But like this situation with kind of the Rick Santorums of the world, these people, anybody really, that's kind of like demonizing. It's like that runs contrary to what I know. It's forget about what I feel, because people are going to feel differently. You can't point to someone and say these people are different. You're a monster, whatever. It's like, because I know that not to be true. That's not the case.
No, it is normal now. That's the thing. I mean, I live in West Hollywood, and it's normal.
Sure. And by the way, it's starting to be this way in a lot of places. The vast majority, especially of my age, the vast majority of gay friends have now settled down and have families. They live, a lot of us at any age, you start sitting and going, oh man, I couldn't possibly go out to a club tonight, or I couldn't, it's like you see on Modern Family, where it's very normal. It's like, what do you want to do? Let's, order Chinese and watch a movie tonight. It's not this kind of crazy lifestyle for anyone, because you grow up and there's a lot of fun to be had. So kudos to Modern Family for making a Modern Family nice and fun. Yay! Thank you, Modern Family. We need to get some of the guests in here. We need to get some of the people that work on the show in here.
Like some showrunners, writers.
Somebody.
You got to do it.
Yeah. So we'll reach out to them and hopefully take your questions. Anybody out there, feel free to tweet us, get in touch with us, call in the studio. We're about to go to commercial, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what we think our predictions for the upcoming weeks are. All right. Take us away, Ronnie.
AfterBuzz TV. Hi, I was once like you, a lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And, like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV. AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
What do you want to buzz about? Please, please, please tweet us out there, folks, and tell everyone about us, especially if you're a Modern Family fan. You probably have friends that also enjoy the show, and you talk about it. We can talk about this. We have AfterBuzz shows for pretty much every show that's on the air right now. If we don't have it, it's because it's not that important yet. But we also have some exciting stuff coming up next week. We have the Oscar specials. We're going to be highlighting a bunch of shows. I'm actually going to be on the Hugo AfterBuzz Oscar special. We're going to be coming at you live from the Oscar gifting suite in Hollywood. So, check us out next week. But, there was one aspect that you just mentioned.
Yeah, there's one thing that I really want to talk about, because they really showed Lily's personality a little bit more on this episode, who we haven't really gotten to see a lot because she was so young.
Right.
But now we're kind of getting to see who she's going to become and what kind of character she's going to develop into.
Yeah.
And so there were a couple moments that I really loved during this episode. One of the main moments where we got to see Lily was when they creep up on her and she's in her room in the strangest outfit.
Yes.
Organizing her things. And like, oh, she's organizing. And then where also Luke reflects on Lily and he says, so wait, we can all agree here that she is a disaster of a human being, right?
Right.
And when he said that, I was like, wait, why? Where did this come from?
Yeah.
Lily's a disaster of a human being? And then I flashed back to her screaming and that one moment in this episode where she grabs Gloria's face and screams.
Yes.
And I guess I wouldn't call her a disaster of a human being.
Well, I think the joke there is, of course, first of all, that Luke is a disaster. So
Okay.
it's funny for him to be calling out some, on the food chain. It's like who is the only one that he can kind of look down upon?
Yeah.
Lily. But the funny button on that is when they say we should get Luke to babysit Lily because he seems to have a connection with her. He seems to like her a lot when Cam and Mitchell say that. So to me, it seems like, that kind of alludes to this whole kind of, Luke has been babysitting her and he's been observing her and he's been judging her without having, obviously, the competency to realize, oh, well, she's 3 or however old she is. But you're right. That's such a funny thing. And it's nice to see, you're right, because Lily is usually she was really young before. And she was also kind of just like, not the butt of jokes, but she was just kind of a set piece. Like when they put her in the flashing dress and when they, did all these things with her where it's like, okay, she's Lily. She's a prop. Let's, decorate her when she says bad words.
Yeah.
But you're right. This was the first time when her character is starting to emerge. And
I think she's going to end up being a real oddball, Like I think,
which is saying a lot on this show.
well, yeah, but it's interesting because they all have the little slots they kind of fit into.
Yeah.
Like Haley's kind of the typical high school popular girl,
Right.
And then Alex is kind of the dork,
Right.
And Luke is just this. He's
boy.
just the little boy
Yeah.
who's messing things up in life, and he's all over the place.
Yep.
And then Lily comes in, and she doesn't. I don't think she's really going to fit into like the nerd category or the popular girl category. She's just going to be the very strange one who does her own
Yes.
thing, and she's.
I feel like she might be like the Creed, if you ever watch The Office, who's kind of the weirdo oddball. He's just kind of the guy out of left field. And
Yeah.
I could see Lily doing that. That'd be really great. Let's go to some predictions and see what's happening coming up in the next few episodes. As we do our
And now,
Yes?
your AFTERBUZZ TV
what are we doing?
prediction.
Aha! Thank you, announcer guy, creepy
So
announcer guy.
what do
on
you
the
predict?
computer.
What do you think?
Well, based on what we know that there's going to be a sex episode involving Haley. Maybe not a sex episode, but at least it's going to come out that she's had sex. I know. We know Ellen Barkin's going to be on the show, and she kind of has a history of playing sex pot characters. So I don't know if that's going to be connected. It'd be great if they brought her in as not a sex therapist, but maybe just like a psychologist that could counsel them. Of course, we keep saying this every week. We still don't have the actual election, and I love that Modern Family is doing that rather than doing a year-long, election cycle. They're just hitting it, and then they walk away, and then a few episodes pass, and then we're back to the election. So we have to have the actual voting, the actual election, which will be a lot of fun. I don't know. What do you think is gonna happen? How do you think the Manny and Gloria thing is going to be resolved? Are they going to just keep dragging it out, or are things going to come to a head, do you think?
You know what? I think Manny is always going to be on
Mama's boy?
Yeah, a little mama's boy, and I don't think that Jay will ever be able to kind of pull Manny away or get him
Right.
to actually play football. That's just who he is. I mean, once I saw him this past episode after Minor Energy going around on a motorized scooter, I
Which
was
was
like,
a great sight gag. Was just
That
like
was
he couldn't
great.
even get out of the kitchen, right? He was trying to get out before the adults had their conversation, and he just kind of, Austin Powers was just kind of, back and forth and
Yeah.
stuck, and that was a great moment.
yeah. So I think that that's going to continue. I definitely would like to see more drama with Haley and with Alex too, because Alex didn't really have that much of a role in this last
Right.
episode. So and with her character in general, she's just like the typical nerd
Yeah.
who wants her sister to love her and to be her best friend and is always looking to be accepted.
Right.
So I'd definitely like to see more drama with Alex.
Well, I would like to see, they kind of alluded to this in a few episodes ago where Alex said she had her own admirers, right? Because among the dork
Yes.
set, she's kind of the hottie of the dorks.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to see, maybe this kind of, because we always want to see the interplay between the two sisters and have
Mm-hmm.
them, and it's constantly one invading the other. So we had Alex invading Haley's space in that math class earlier this year. I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe this time, if there's a boy that might be going, falling for Alex, or might be kind of ignoring Haley. If
Haley
might start
the jealousy.
Yeah, a little
that would
jealousy.
Be great.
That would be a lot of fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. It's going to be, we know I think we're about halfway through the season, so we should have a bunch of really good episodes in our future. Thanks so much, Natasha, for sitting in with us. If we want to get and follow you on Twitter, what's your?
You can follow me at Tash Mustache. Thank you for having me.
All right. No, this was wonderful. And I'm Cinemario, Cinemario. If you're in Hollywood this evening, come check me out with my improv troupe, Conrad. We're performing at the Complex Theater. That's tonight, Friday, February 17th. Thank you. Well, don't applaud yet. We'll see if the show's any good. But we're really excited to perform. So thanks so much, Ronnie in the booth. You're the best.
Thank you. You guys made me further Modern Family fans. I don't watch this one as much as I should, but it's funny. It's a great show. You guys, I like your chemistry and your
matching shirts.
And matching
look
shirts.
at you two.
Yeah, a little late, post Valentine's. We won't do it on the day, but we'll wear some Valentine's action.
And I know it wasn't planned because you're like, oh, okay.
Well, I came in with a different shirt.
You
actually,
did.
I was moving a friend earlier.
He
today,
came in
so
naked, really. So
I came in buck naked.
Another exclusive.
helping a friend move on to a new
No,
beach.
great show, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time. By all means, tell everyone about us and follow us on Twitter. All right, thanks so much.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.